The Six Realms of Rebirth, understanding the Buddhist wheel of life. Most of us live as if this life is all there is. We may believe that after death, we'll go to heaven, vanish into nothingness, or return in some mysterious way. But according to Buddhist teachings, death is not the end, it's simply a doorway. What lies beyond isn't determined by luck or divine judgment, but by something far more personal and immediate, our own actions, intentions, and the karmic energy we've created. In Buddhism, all sentient beings are caught in a vast cycle known as samsara, the endless wheel of birth, death, and rebirth. Within this wheel are six realms of existence, the six realms, or six paths, of rebirth, each representing different states of consciousness and karma. And here's the striking truth: being born human is not a guaranteed outcome. We may just as easily be reborn as a god basking in pleasure, a wrathful being driven by jealousy, an animal ruled by instinct, a hungry ghost consumed by desire, or a tortured soul in the depths of hell. Yet, amid these six realms, the human realm is considered the most precious, not because it is free of suffering, but because it offers the rare and delicate balance between pain and potential, illusion and insight. It is the only realm where enlightenment is truly possible. This exploration will guide you through the six realms, not as abstract mythologies, but as reflections of the mind states we experience daily. You'll discover how karma determines our rebirth, why being human is so valuable, and why the true goal of the Buddhist path isn't to rise to a better realm, but to transcend the cycle altogether, and attain liberation beyond birth and death. This is more than philosophy. It's an invitation to look within, to live with awareness, and to walk the path that leads beyond the wheel, to true peace, true freedom, and the end of suffering. 1. Rebirth is not always as a human, the six realms of existence. In our everyday understanding, we often assume that being human is the natural default, and that after death we either disappear, return as another person, or perhaps ascend to some kind of heaven. But Buddhism offers a very different perspective. Being born as a human is only one of six possible realms of rebirth, and not necessarily the most common one. According to the law of karma, after death, sentient beings do not simply cease to exist. Instead, the stream of consciousness continues, carrying with it the imprint of past actions, leading to rebirth in one of the six realms, agati or six paths of samsara. 1. The realm of gods, deva. Beings here live long lives full of pleasure, beauty, and heavenly experiences. However, their immense enjoyment often causes them to forget the reality of suffering and the impermanence of life. When their good karma is exhausted, they too fall back into lower realms. In modern terms, people with great wealth, comfort, and influence, who live in luxury and never have to worry about basic needs, can resemble beings in the deva realm. Yet, I've met such people who, despite having everything, still felt hollow and restless. Comfort without wisdom often leads to forgetfulness, not freedom. 2. The realm of asuras, jealous demigods. These beings are powerful and competitive, but live in constant conflict, jealousy, and aggression. They are always comparing themselves to others and are unable to feel contentment. Think of corporate cultures filled with cutthroat rivalry, where success is measured by how many others you can outshine. I once worked in such an environment. Everyone was talented, but also deeply insecure and aggressive. It was exhausting and felt like an emotional battlefield. 3. The human realm, manuya. This is the realm we currently inhabit. Though humans face suffering, illness, aging, loss, we also possess the unique capacity for reflection, ethical choice, and spiritual growth. This makes the human realm the most suitable realm for practicing the Dharma and achieving liberation. After losing someone dear, I was forced to confront impermanence in a very real way. That pain became a gateway to understanding and growth. It pushed me to seek answers beyond surface-level comfort. This is the unique potential of the human experience. Suffering here can become the seed of awakening. 4. The animal realm, Tirya. Beings in this realm lack higher reasoning, live by instinct, and are constantly in fear or subjugation. They experience ignorance and suffering, and have little to no opportunity for spiritual development. When I see animals in factory farms, living in small cages without freedom or awareness, it makes me think of how fragile sentient existence can be. And sadly, when humans live only for food, pleasure, and fear, without reflection, they are also nurturing the karma of the animal realm. 5. The realm of hungry ghosts, Preta. These beings are tormented by insatiable craving. They suffer from endless hunger and thirst, but whatever they try to consume turns to poison or disappears. It symbolizes those who are addicted to desire, yet never find peace. I once knew someone who had everything, a successful career, a loving family, but always felt they didn't have enough. More money, more status, more possessions, nothing could satisfy the inner void. It's a kind of spiritual starvation, and very much like the experience of the hungry ghost realm. 6. The Hell Realm, Naraka. This realm is the most painful, filled with intense suffering, violence, and torment. It is the result of severe negative karma, especially rooted in hatred, cruelty, and intentional harm. I've met individuals so filled with hate that they seem to live in their own personal hell. Even in this life, we can see people consumed by rage and misery, locked in cycles of blame and revenge. Hell is not just after death, it often begins in the heart. In essence, the 6 realms are not just mythological locations, but symbolic representations of the many states of existence and consciousness we can occupy, even within a single day. Joy, rage, ignorance, craving, fear, clarity, they all come and go. And just like that, we rise and fall within the wheel of life. Once I began observing my own mind, I noticed how easily I shift from one realm to another throughout the day. A moment of gratitude feels like the heavens. A burst of jealousy, suddenly, I'm in the Asura realm. A mind lost in habit and comfort? Animal realm. Understanding the 6 realms helps me become more mindful of my own inner world and more committed to breaking free from its unconscious pull. 2. The 6 realms are a closed cycle of samsara, the endless wheel of birth and death. In Buddhist thought, the 6 realms aren't merely destinations that one visits after death, they are part of a closed cycle known as samsara, the wheel of birth, death, and rebirth. Beings don't stay permanently in any realm. Instead, they wander endlessly from one realm to another, carried by the force of karma, trapped by ignorance and craving. This wandering is not random. It's governed by the precise and impartial law of cause and effect. When the karma that led to birth in one realm is exhausted, new karma ripens and propels the being to a new existence, perhaps higher, perhaps lower, depending on the nature of their actions, intentions, and mental states. Like dust in the wind, beings are tossed about by their karma, never finding rest, never finding peace. Buddhist teaching. The central driving force of this endless movement is the 3 poisons, greed, lobha, hatred, dosa, and delusion, moha. In traditional Tibetan art, the wheel of life, bhavacakra, is depicted with a rooster, a snake, and a pig at its center, symbolizing these 3 forces. These poisons keep the wheel spinning, and as long as we are under their influence, we remain trapped. What struck me most when I first learned this was how samsara isn't something that happens only after death. In a single day, I can see myself cycling through realms. One moment I feel peaceful like a deva, the next I'm competing like an asura, then sinking into apathy like an animal. Samsara isn't just out there, it's right here, unfolding in our own minds, moment by moment. There's a powerful story in Tibetan Buddhism about a monk who, during deep meditation, had a vision of countless lifetimes unfolding like a river. He saw himself being born, dying, and reborn over and over, sometimes as a king, other times as a beggar, a beast, even a spirit of torment. After the vision, he wept and said, "All those roles, all those faces, and I never knew who I really was." I once knew a man who lived with such resentment toward his family that even in old age, he couldn't speak a kind word. He was surrounded by comfort, but his heart was trapped in anger. Spiritually, he was not in the human realm, though he wore a human body. This taught me, it's not where we are, but who we are being that defines our realm. The tragedy of samsara is that we don't recognize we're trapped. Like actors lost in their roles, we mistake temporary identities for our true self. We chase pleasure, run from pain, create karma, and reap its results again and again without ever questioning the nature of the stage we're on. The scariest part about samsara isn't hell, it's the blindness. It's living through cycle after cycle, not knowing we're moving in circles. Once I began sitting in meditation, I started noticing the subtle grip of craving, fear, and habit shaping my daily thoughts. I wasn't as free as I believed, I was being spun by the wheel. Awareness was the first glimpse of freedom. The six realms form a closed system, no realm is a final destination. Even gods die. Even hell beings can be reborn. There is no resting place in samsara. Everything is impermanent. The only way out is not to try and climb to a better realm, but to step off the wheel entirely. This begins not with grand actions, but with mindful awareness of our inner world and a commitment to transforming greed, hatred, and delusion into wisdom, compassion, and peace. Until we break the cycle, we are not living, we are just revolving. 3. The human realm is the most precious of all six realms. Out of the six realms of rebirth in Buddhism, the human realm stands out as the most rare and precious. Not because it is the most pleasurable, far from it. The God realm is far more blissful. But the human realm holds a unique balance. It contains just enough suffering to awaken compassion and just enough freedom to pursue wisdom. Unlike animals, hungry ghosts, or beings in hell, humans possess moral agency, self-awareness, and the potential to question their existence. We can reflect on our actions, perceive right from wrong, learn from spiritual teachings, and, most importantly, practice the path that leads to liberation. To be born as a human being and to encounter the Dharma is rarer than a blind turtle surfacing once every 100 years and placing its head through a floating golden yoke. The Buddha. This famous analogy illustrates just how extraordinarily rare and valuable it is to be human. And yet, many of us waste this life chasing temporary pleasures, staying distracted, or falling into despair, unaware that this life is the gateway out of suffering, not merely a space to indulge in it. Why is the human realm so important? 1. It offers the perfect balance of pain and possibility. In the heavenly realms, beings are so absorbed in pleasure that they forget about impermanence or the need to practice. In the lower realms, beings are overwhelmed by pain, fear, or ignorance. But in the human realm, we face just enough suffering to motivate spiritual growth and just enough joy to give us hope. Personal reflection: a close friend of mine only began practicing meditation after losing a loved one. Grief shook her out of complacency. The loss hurt deeply, but it also opened her heart. In the human realm, suffering isn't a punishment, it's a teacher. 2. We have the capacity for ethical choices. Humans can reflect on the consequences of their actions. We can choose compassion over cruelty, patience over anger, truth over deception. That freedom of choice is what makes spiritual transformation possible. I once met a man who had lived a reckless life, addiction, betrayal, self-destruction. But one day, after a moment of clarity, he turned everything around. He started studying Dharma, helping others, and repairing relationships. Only in the human realm do we have this power to reshape our path, no matter how far we've strayed. 3. We can study and practice the Dharma. Unlike animals or ghosts, we have the ability to understand teachings, ask questions, reflect deeply, and apply wisdom. We can attend teachings, meditate, keep ethical precepts, and directly train our minds. I remember the first time I heard a Dharma talk that truly resonated. It was as if something ancient inside me stirred awake. It wasn't just information, it was a call home. And I realized, not everyone gets to hear these teachings, let alone understand them. 4. We have relative freedom to practice. Though the human realm has its share of suffering, we are not completely bound by it. Many of us have the time, health, and safety to sit in silence, to read sacred texts, to question our existence. These conditions are rare and should never be taken for granted. I once saw a young monk in Southeast Asia wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to meditate, chant, and serve others, all while smiling with the kind of serenity most people spend their lives chasing. He told me, "The human life is short. I don't want to waste it. His words hit me hard. How many mornings had I spent scrolling my phone instead of nurturing my spirit? The real tragedy, forgetting how rare this is. The real danger is not death. It's forgetfulness. Most people live as though they have unlimited time, unaware that this human birth is a 1 in a billion opportunity, not just to live, but to wake up. We chase pleasure. We drown in distractions. We fight, fear, and fantasize. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. The moment we waste in ignorance is a moment drifting closer to a rebirth we cannot control. Don't wait for the perfect moment to awaken. The perfect moment is this one. The human realm is the only realm with the right conditions to break free from all 6. This is the launching pad toward enlightenment. Every day, every breath, every challenge is a chance to turn inward, to practice compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom. We don't know how many more human lives we'll have, if any. But we do have this one. Right now. And that makes it more valuable than any realm in heaven. 4. Karma determines the realm of rebirth. In the Buddhist worldview, there is no such thing as luck, fate, or divine punishment. Everything we experience, joy or suffering, wealth or poverty, rebirth in a heavenly realm or descent into the lowest hell, is shaped by one thing: karma. Karma means action, not just physical deeds, but also words and even thoughts. Every action, driven by intention, plants a seed. Over time, that seed ripens into an experience. Our present life is the result of countless karmic seeds we have sown in the past, and our future will be shaped by what we do in the present. Beings are the owners of their karma, heirs of their karma, born of their karma, related to their karma, and abide supported by their karma. The Buddha. In this sense, karma is not judgment, it is reflection. The universe is not punishing or rewarding us. It simply mirrors the energy we put into it. Acts rooted in kindness, compassion, and wisdom lead to wholesome results. Acts born from hatred, greed, and ignorance lead to suffering. Rebirth is not random, it is a continuation. The realm into which we are reborn after death, whether as a human, animal, god, ghost, or hell being, is determined by the accumulated momentum of our karma. There is no divine lottery, no arbitrary outcome. Everything follows cause and effect. A person who lives generously, practices patience, and cultivates love for others may be reborn in the human or heavenly realms. Meanwhile, someone who lives in cruelty, deceit, and hatred may fall into the lower realms, animal, hungry ghost, or hell. What awakened me to the seriousness of karma was witnessing someone close to me, outwardly successful, yet inwardly filled with resentment and manipulation. Though they seemed lucky in this life, their emotional and relational world was full of suffering. It became clear to me, karma isn't just about the next life, it's already playing out right now. Karma doesn't expire, but it can be transformed. One of the most profound truths in Buddhism is that karma is not fixed. While we can't erase what's already been done, we can purify and transform its effects through sincere remorse, ethical living, and spiritual practice. In a Buddhist story, a murderer named Angulimala killed hundreds before meeting the Buddha. After hearing the Dharma, he awakened, renounced violence, and became a monk. Though he still faced painful consequences from his past actions, his heart was free. His transformation showed that even the darkest karma can give rise to awakening. Personal reflection: I once met a mother whose child was born with severe developmental challenges. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she turned to the Dharma. She began practicing compassion, patience, and mindfulness, not only toward her child, but toward herself. Years later, she told me, "My child became my greatest teacher." This woman didn't escape karma, she transformed it into a path of love. Karma is not linear, but incredibly precise. Karma is subtle and vast. A small act of cruelty can ripple out in unexpected ways. A single moment of kindness can blossom into blessings years, or lifetimes, later. Some karma ripens quickly, while other seeds take lifetimes. But nothing is ever lost. Not even a grain of rice given in generosity is wasted. Buddhist teaching. This is why Buddhist practice often emphasizes mindfulness, ethical discipline, and intentional living, not to earn points for the next life, but to purify the mind and create the conditions for clarity and compassion to arise. Personal reflection: I now view every thought and action as a kind of creative force. Each time I choose patience over anger, honesty over fear, or stillness over distraction, I am shaping the trajectory of my life and beyond. Karma is not something far away, it is the quiet sculptor of every moment. Rebirth is not a random event. It is the natural unfolding of the causes we ourselves have set in motion. This understanding doesn't trap us, it empowers us. Every moment gives us a chance to plant new seeds, to shape our future, and to consciously choose the realm we are heading toward. And ultimately, beyond all the realms, lies a greater possibility still, not just to be reborn well, but to be free of rebirth altogether. 5. The true goal of practice: freedom beyond the 6 realms. Many people turn to spirituality or religion in hopes of improving their lives, or perhaps to secure a better rebirth in the next. Some pray to be reborn in heaven, or at least in a fortunate human life. But in Buddhism, the ultimate goal is not to rise to a better realm, it is to break free from all realms entirely. The 6 realms, no matter how beautiful or terrifying, are still part of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, aging, death, and rebirth. Even the God realms, with all their pleasures, are temporary. When good karma is exhausted, beings fall back into lower realms. No realm, high or low, offers lasting refuge. Even the highest heavens burn in the fire of impermanence. This is why the Buddha did not teach us to become better residents of samsara, he taught us how to transcend it. The goal is not to be reborn again and again in better conditions, but to liberate the mind from the causes of rebirth altogether: craving, ignorance, and clinging. Liberation means stepping off the wheel. To truly escape samsara, one must uproot its very causes, the 3 poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. This is done not through blind belief, but through diligent practice. Ethical living, sila, not harming others, living with integrity. Meditation, samadhi, training the mind to become still and clear. Wisdom, panna, seeing through the illusions of self, permanence, and control. These 3 pillars form the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha's roadmap to nirvana, a state beyond suffering, beyond rebirth, beyond all duality. For a long time, I saw spiritual practice as a way to improve my life, calm down, be happier, feel more peaceful. But over time, I realized that true peace doesn't come from perfecting life, but from seeing through its illusions. No matter how much I fix my circumstances, suffering always finds a way in, unless I uproot its cause from within. Nirvana is not a place, it is a freedom of the heart. Nirvana isn't a heavenly realm, a blissful escape, or some kind of reward. It is the extinguishing of the fire of greed, anger, and ignorance that keeps us circling in the 6 realms. It is a mind fully awake, no longer caught in craving or fear. A peace that doesn't depend on conditions. There is, monks, an unborn, unaging, uncreated, unconditioned. If there were not, there would be no escape from what is born, aging, created, and conditioned. The Buddha. Many people misunderstand nirvana as annihilation. But it is not the end of consciousness, it is the end of suffering. It is the return to the true nature of mind, spacious, silent, luminous, free. Think of a candle that's been burning all night, flickering, heating, consuming. Nirvana is not the destruction of light, but the blowing out of the flame that burns and consumes. What remains is cool, quiet, and undisturbed. Every step toward freedom begins now. You don't have to wait for death to begin freeing yourself from samsara. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose kindness over anger, mindfulness over craving, you're already stepping off the wheel. Enlightenment is not far, it's a moment of clear seeing repeated again and again. I used to think awakening was something only saints and monks in caves could reach. But now I see it's a path walked one step at a time, in traffic, in conversations, in heartbreak, in silence. Each moment is a fork in the road. Go deeper into samsara, or begin to let go. The Buddhist path isn't about becoming better at being human or climbing up the ladder of rebirth. It's about waking up from the entire dream. Samsara is the dream. The six realms are just rooms in the same house of suffering. And Nirva is stepping outside into the open sky. The choice is ours every moment. We can continue circling endlessly, lifetime after lifetime. Or we can begin to walk the path of liberation, not someday, but now. Because the most important question is not, where will I be reborn? The real question is, will I still be asleep when it happens? The journey through the six realms is not just a map of the afterlife, it is a mirror of our present experience. These realms are not distant mythologies. They are lived realities, manifesting through our emotions, thoughts, and actions every single day. Heaven and hell are not elsewhere. We rise and fall between them in a matter of moments, depending on the state of our heart and mind. Understanding the six realms is not meant to frighten or confuse us, it's meant to wake us up. To remind us that everything we think, speak, and do matters. That the life we're living now is both the result of past causes and the seedbed of future ones. Most of all, it reminds us that this human life is a gift beyond measure, not because it lasts forever, but because it gives us the rare chance to break free. And that is the heart of the Buddha's teaching. Not to decorate samsara, not to hope for a better room in the burning house, but to walk out, to see clearly, act wisely, and love deeply. Just as a spark can burn down an entire forest, a moment of wisdom can end lifetimes of suffering. You are not powerless. You are not bound. You are not condemned to endlessly wander. The door of liberation is already open. The path has been walked by countless awakened ones. Now it's your turn. Will you take the first step?